Making that big footprint. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Recovery Classroom. My name is Drew. I am a recovering alcoholic. I'm still sober, and I'm still enjoying each and every single day. Never met somebody who's ever regretted getting clean and sober. I've been sick this last week, and so I want to thank Deb and Brenda for carrying the message, for continuing on. I've had a lot of time to think, and I remember thinking I really wanted to pace myself on, trying to recoup and recover from the sickness, because I definitely wanted to be back on here today of all days. Those of you who know, today is a very significant date for us and for many folks, but definitely for us here in the Recovery Classroom, because 2 years ago today, we lost someone who was near and dear to our heart, a family member, a brother, as somebody, in my opinion, who was a foundation, a bedrock pillar, if you will, of everything that we try to do here at the Recovery Classroom, everything we represent. And those you know, I'm talking about our friend that we refer to as Bigfoot. I think his government name, I think I can use his government name. I'm sure he'd forgive me. Joshua McCormick, he personified, that's the only word that comes to mind. He personified everything that we do here. This guy personified recovery, quite frankly, and not just your recovery. When I'm talking about full, total recovery. When I first met Josh, I think he'd fired like 45 sponsors, been kicked out of 3 rehabs, not for drinking or drugging, by the way. No, he got kicked out of rehabs because rules got in the way. And here's what I mean by it. Here's what he would tell you. He was trying to figure out his own path, and he struggled with recovery at first. He had a challenging time because he was listening to this person and listening to that person, going to this meeting and hearing all this stuff, and going to that meeting and hearing all that stuff. And so everybody was too busy preaching at him, telling him what he had to do, and he had to do it this way and had to do it that way. And finally he figured out and said, wait a minute. Let me do it my way. Let me progress and proceed in my recovery the way that works for me. He got to the point, he finally realized he needed to stop trying to recover the way other people recover and started recovering the way that he needed to recover. And that pissed a lot of people off, and I'm happy for it too. And I think it's one of the reasons why that, we became so close, all of us here. We realized that, he was teaching us. We were learning from him, and he just left just larger than life. Joey says this all the time. You walked in a room with him, this guy was larger than life. I mean, he truly left his mark, not just on you, but people around you too. He left an impression on me that I will go to the grave. I will never forget this guy. I truly never forget what this man did in my life. But even beyond that, I'll never forget what he did for my family, the impressions that he left on my family's life. I can't repeat the joke because if you knew Josh, you knew how dirty it was, I guess, or maybe inappropriate or whatever. But I know my son was with us all one day as we were leaving the IHOP, and Josh walked out and he baited my son with this question, and my son answered the question, and Josh threw the punchline and down. Of course, I'm dead. I've started just losing it, laughing so hard because my son was speechless. My son has never been speechless, but yet Josh had him laughing, had him cutting up, and they immediately became best friends from that point forward. Every time they were together, it was like 2 10-year-olds sitting at the IHOP or at the Waffle House or whatever. And as a matter of fact, whenever Josh did pass, my son called me that day on his lunch. He was a sophomore in high school that day. He called me and was like, Dad, please tell me this isn't true. A freshman in high school, I'm sorry. Please tell me this isn't true. And I said, yeah, unfortunately it is. And my son was moved. My daughter, my family, anyone who came into contact with this guy, it was devastating. It was devastating, and he truly left that much of an impression on people's, that much of a footprint on people's lives. I know one time, this is one of the biggest memories that I will always have with me. It will go to my grave with me. Josh and I were arguing. He would debate. He would argue with you till he was blue in the face about Bigfoot. And Bigfoot was real. Bigfoot lived here. Bigfoot lived there. There's many different types of Bigfoot, many different tribes of Bigfoot. There was collections of Bigfoot, Big Feet all over the country. And he would tell you this. And I'm a very evidentiary person. I have to have substantiated evidence. I have to have proof, right? And I would tell him, Josh, there's no proof if any of this is true. There's no proof of Bigfoot. He said, yeah, there's no proof of recovery too. But yet here we are. Here we are. that moment, I became a believer in Bigfoot. At that moment, I became a believer, the very thing he epitomized, he personified, which is that people can recover, and they can do it differently from me, differently from you, differently from Josh. People can recover, and that was the trap that people still get to this day, still get trapped in. They think, well, I can't recover like Drew, or I can't recover like Drenda, so I'm hopeless. I know I got trapped, I got stuck in that. I can't recover like people in AA. I can't recover like people in CR or whatever, so I must be hopeless. And that was the very thing that Josh set out to prove them wrong, to give them proof that it was possible. I became a believer of Bigfoot, and I'm still a believer of Bigfoot, even after all this time. And I just want to tell his family, if you guys are watching today, happen to be watching today, we still love Josh. We still miss Josh. I mean, there's not a day goes by that we don't think about Josh. And our prayers are with you. And just know that he is still a part of our family, and we are still carrying on the legacy of Bigfoot.